All right. Now let me edit the.
That was the theme song from The Voyage of the Mimi for those of you who were born after 1987. So it was like these kids, and they were on the sailboat, and there was this old crusty captain, and they would learn about like sea mammals.
Finally time.
Yeah, I guess it is finally time.
Finally time for what, Taryn?
I don't know. I think we're doing an episode of My Friend Ben, because I'm Taryn and this is my friend Ben.
I'm giving you nothing today.
No, I don't even know what's happening right now.
Negative help. I figured I'd just bring it into the show,
Yeah.
So everyone can know, all 40 people who listen to us
can know that it's just been a really hard day.
It's been one of those days.
All kinds of stuff got broke.
This was actually supposed to happen last week.
Yeah.
And I really shrewded it last week,
I
too.
mean,
that was
just got janked
Office
up.
reference for those Office fans out there.
Go for it, because I never watched the show.
Well, you're missing out.
Yeah. Is it still on?
American sitcom.
Is it still on?
No, it ended 2 or 3 years ago.
See, that's what I'm talking about right there.
Because it was on for 9 seasons, and Steve Carell was so successful afterwards that he didn't have time to do that anymore. So he was doing his Hollywood career.
Yeah. Well, good for him.
Yeah.
It's nice to like just ruin yourself with success. Yeah. I wouldn't know about that.
He's a classy guy.
I wouldn't
he's
know
like
about
everyone talks about how great he is as a person. So.
He's like a Tom Hanks.
He's like a really cool movie star.
Okay.
He's like down to earth and super friendly with everyone.
Aww.
His wife in real life was actually in the show too and played his girlfriend for a little bit. And now they have a new TV show on TBS called Angie Tribeca.
Okay.
And it's like Airplane. Do you ever see the movie Airplane?
Yes.
So it's like that kind of humor, like really absurd.
Huh.
Like
absurd, like the movie we're going to talk about this week.
Yeah. But it was really interesting for those who are fans of television. Their show Angie Tribeca, they decided to do a binge-a-thon on live television. So they took like the Netflix culture of binging TV shows like one after the other, and they played the entire first season.
Oh, that's funny.
In a block straight with no commercials, and then they had like a PBS sort of telethon.
Okay.
They had like in between each show, they would cut to like them in a room talking to famous people or like people that were on the show. You could call in and talk to them, and they would just talk. You wouldn't give any money. You're just calling in. They have a booth set up. You could talk to Steve.
That's pretty clever. I don't know how they made any money off of it.
Yeah, they did. It was just like a cool TBS way to promote the show.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah, and I actually had nose surgery like 2 days before.
Yeah.
And so I was at home.
So you were like around
so I was actually able to just sit.
Thing.
And I watched the whole first season in a row on live television because I thought it was such a novel idea.
Oh my gosh. Is it an hour-long program?
No, it's a 30-minute program.
Okay.
So
that's not too bad.
22 minutes.
Okay, because I'm like, dear God, like an hour-long whole
and
season.
it's really fun. It's really funny. I mean, it's Steve Carell's humor, and he's like the showrunner, and his wife, or the two of them are like doing it together.
Oh,
and it was really funny. And Rashida Jones is the lead in it, and so she was really great. And then there's a German Shepherd who plays a German Shepherd, and he like is a character who's treated as a real cop. It's a show about cops because that's what the world needs, another show about cops.
Right.
Which was actually the tagline of the TV show was Angie Tribeca, finally a show about cops.
Right. Like seriously.
Lets you know from day one, like this is the kind of humor that's going to be in the show.
Okay.
And so there's a German Shepherd who's a police officer, and they treat him like a regular police officer, even though he never speaks and is a dog the entire time.
Okay. That's a little bit more absurd than I was expecting.
No, I told you it was absurd.
I wasn't quite ready for that level of absurdity. But
were you ready for the level of absurdity in the movie Hunt for the Wilderpeople?
No, I was not at all. Like, I bought the ticket, and actually the little girl who took my ticket was like, this movie's fabulous, you're really gonna like it. And I'm like,
she said that?
She literally said that.
What theater?
I know. Which theater did I go to? I actually went all the way up to Lawrenceville.
Oh, that's right, because your movie pass.
I wanted to use my movie pass, and then it was like fancy seats, like the really nice leather recliners. And so I actually, since no one who this would matter to watches this, I actually went in the middle of the workday because I just felt like it.
Nice.
And I was just having one of those weeks, and I was like, you know what, I really feel like watching a movie right now. It's 1:41. I'm about to go.
Honestly though, that would have been the best.
Yeah, there was only like 5 or 6 people in the theater.
That's amazing.
The really great seats. So like, I enjoyed my afternoon, let me just tell you. So yeah, because the movie was great.
Right.
But yeah, I just like skipped out of work in the middle of the afternoon and watched the movie. And oh my gosh, no, I was not ready.
No.
Because you watch the trailer and you're like, oh, it's about a punky little kid and they're in New Zealand and his foster parents, and somehow he ends up with some grumpy old man in the woods.
Right.
Like it doesn't even like, which is cool though, because I don't think a trailer should be so beginning, middle, and end. You're like, I've just seen the whole movie.
That's what trailers do nowadays, and it ruins everything.
Yeah, it's awful. So in a way, it was a clever misleading, actually, because one of the catalyst characters is not in the trailer at all. So you get to the film and you're like, oh, okay. And then you're like, wait, but that guy was in the trailer, but I don't understand how we got to points that are in the trailer from the beginning of the film, which was great. Because, I mean, it kind of kept my interest in a way that a lot of other films don't.
Right.
Because they just give away the whole freaking story, like, in the trailer.
Which is what, trailers do that so often.
Yeah, so I was just impressed with, again, the marketing of it, and then got in there and was just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So random. And
yeah, so for those who don't know, Hunt for the Wilderpeople is a movie by Taika Waititi, which is a New Zealand director.
Yeah.
And so he's made a couple of movies before this. He does a lot of work with Flight of the Conchords, if you're familiar with Flight of the Conchords, the TV show or the band. It's that they make music.
Do they?
Yeah, they're like a satirical sort of band. I mean, they like make really funny raps and songs. And so Taika Waititi has done a lot of stuff with them before. He made the most recent movie he made before this one was called What They Do in the Shadows, and it was a mockumentary about vampires who literally just sit around and just like chill in their house and like talk about how great they are as vampires.
I think I saw a promo for that, but I was like, what the heck
and
is
a lot
this?
of people really loved it, and I watched it and I like chuckled a couple of times. And I talked to one of my friends who'd seen the first movie that he made too, which was called The Eagle and the Shark. And he describes his humor as like, it's so subtle that it's almost inaccessible.
It can be.
And so like what They Do in the Shadows was definitely that way. You have to know going in that this is supposed to be not taken seriously, or else you'll watch the movie and not realize it, because it's so like very subtle things that he hints at to realize, oh, this is a joke. This isn't real.
It is kind of weird like that.
Yeah.
Even in this film, the characters took themselves very seriously. Like they were so earnest.
Right.
And so you're like, oh crap, but this is hysterical. But the character is straight.
Well, that's what leads
just like
to the comedy.
So earnest. And you're just like, oh God.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that in this movie, it was his most accessible humor that he's done so far, except for maybe his work. I'm not sure if he directed any episodes of Flight of the Conchords, but I know like a lot of the stuff in Flight of the Conchords is very accessible. A lot of the humor is, and so but Hunt for the Wilderpeople, I was not expecting to almost fall out of my chair. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, it was great. I was already reclining, so I just kind of rolled over.
Right. I mean, there were seriously. I have not laughed in a movie harder in a long time. No. Probably since Dinner for Schmucks, if you ever saw the movie. Speaking of Steve Carell, Steve Carell was the lead character in that movie. And I went and saw that in the theater, and I thought it was so hilarious. I sat in like the front row with my friends who I watched The Office with, and so it was perfect. And so I haven't laughed in a movie theater as hard since Dinner for Schmucks as I did in Hunt for the Wilderpeople.
I'm like 50-50 on Steve Carell's like style of humor, so I'm not sure. I think Bridesmaids was the last one that just had me like cracking up. Yeah, a part of it is like the physicality of certain things. There's the absurd will make me laugh occasionally, but I think I just have enough crazy people in my life that like they're absurd enough. Like it's not funny to me anymore. Right. Like it's like I know real crazy people, and this is their everyday life. But it's the physicality of some of the moments. Like I was just like, I did not see that coming. Yeah. Or again, the earnestness of the characters. So,
right. They really believe and are so genuine in everything that they do.
Like the birthday song.
Oh my gosh. That song was in my head for days afterwards.
I couldn't hold it together. Like I was like, okay, and it just kept going, and that was part of it. It just. You're like, oh, how awkward. And then you're just like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Like they're still going. And you're like, I thought it would be over, but there's a big finish. Nope, like it just keeps going. So I'm just like crying, and then you have that thing that happens in the theater where like one person laughs before you're ready to laugh. And then like you're ready to laugh. And then someone sounds like they're crying in the back. There's also that communal aspect of like the humor that just like drives it on, or someone who's been holding their laughter suddenly like bursting, like having an explosion of like laughter. So
Rebecca.
Yeah. Oh
Ricky
my god! And
Baker.
the keyboard,
Ricky Baker.
like there were so many bizarre things that they put into
It was
the
awesome.
the house itself, which reminded me in that way. The set dressing reminded me a little bit of what's that crazy movie with the kid where they made him get a perm, Napoleon Dynamite?
Yeah.
And so where the
Dynamite.
set dressing, you're just like looking at like the atmosphere, like, oh dear God, like I'm not
Right.
sure what year this is. I'm so
Right.
confused by the things you have in your house right now.
Right.
But
But everything feels so.
But it was
like it
authentic
would really
to
be
the
there.
character.
Yeah, it would absolutely be there.
It was authentic to the
And so
character.
you're so drawn into this world that they've created.
Yeah.
But it's a world that's so foreign to you.
Yeah.
But it feels warm. And like
Yeah.
the kid movie's about an orphan
Yeah.
who's like taken in by this family. And so it does a really good job of making it feel warm. And he's like touted at the beginning of the movie as this kid who's not been at home anywhere.
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
he's a troublemaker and he's a handful to live with
Yeah.
and to like try and raise. And it just immediately felt like, okay, this place is somewhere I can be myself, because these two people are weird,
Are way weirder.
but they're so earnest in their love that
Yeah.
it just is really disarming.
Yeah.
And so Ricky Baker can then be himself.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ricky Baker, Julian Dennison, the guy who plays Ricky Baker, was so good.
The kid,
like for
yeah.
a child actor that I've never seen before. I don't know if
Yeah.
he's done a lot of stuff in New Zealand, but
Yeah.
like what seems to be his international debut was very, very good.
Yeah, I did look the cast up a little bit. I guess he had been in a film that did really well in New Zealand that was like critically acclaimed as well before. And so that's how he got picked up for this film. But it was interesting. he was absolutely perfect as well. And story-wise, I thought it was funny because I think with kids, not that necessarily the character would have intentionally done this, but it is good very early on where like the foster mother has this moment, which is just part of her daily life, but when they're out in the woods and then she sees the hog and she just goes in.
Yeah.
I was completely dead. Like I was just laughing so hard I could like barely breathe. Like that scene just had me crying, and I was like, this is exactly what every teacher needs to do. You need to shock them kids before they try to shock you. Like,
Right,
but the thing is, again, she's so earnest. Like she's like, hey, do you want to join in? And he's just like freaking out.
Yeah.
He's a city kid. He's not used to like.
He wants to be a guy.
Talk about, oh, I'm a gangster. And it's like,
the sucks life didn't choose. I chose the sucks life.
yeah, whatever that means. In New
I tried
Zealand.
to look it up on Google, and
I speak American.
I could
I
find
don't know.
nothing about the sucks life. So I don't know if they made it up for the movie or what, but
right.
I was very
If
confused.
there's a dictionary of New
I'm
Zealand
not
slang.
super into New Zealand culture, nor do I know any of the slang terms in
No.
New Zealand or even Australia. So
No, none of those places I speak American.
Right.
We've covered.
yeah,
But yeah, no.
I don't even speak American. I speak Southeastern American. I speak Southern American.
Yeah.
And I understand our colloquialisms. And that's
Okay.
about it.
Yes. Southern white boy American.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will even further subgenre.
Right, because it's like a subculture. Yeah.
Southern white boy.
Yeah. So if I say your outfit is hella tight, you're going to be like, what?
I mean, I know what that means.
Right. Because that's kind of young.
Yeah.
That's Cali.
Also,
slang anyway.
Macklemore used it in the song. So.
City.
Yeah.
Effing it up for everybody. Yeah. Is he from Cali, though?
Yeah, I think so.
He's probably from the Bay Area then, because I feel like no self-respecting New York rapper is gonna be like hella tight. Like
Right.
they
Well, it
would
was
get
in a
beat
song
up.
Thrift Shop, so it was all
Was
supposed
it
to be a
in
joke
Thrift Shop?
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
50 other in this club. That's hella tight, I think is what he says.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Yeah. No, I remember just hearing
Pretty sure
that
that's the line.
with some East back
But
in
I
high
could
school.
totally be wrong.
Yeah, back in high school. No, it was like a girl from the Bay Area.
Yeah, back
and she said
in
that.
elementary school for me.
Right, yeah, when you was getting out of kindergarten and whatnot, and this girl goes to another girl, she was like, yo, your outfit is hella tight. And the girl was like, what did you say? Because she was ready to fight. Like my clothes don't fit, you know?
Right.
I mean, it's just weird, like all
Yeah.
the little, and I've
Tight
lived
means cool.
in several
Well,
different
it's taken me
places.
since we started the podcast. I didn't really know what extra meant. And so when you always say like that's extra, I'm like trying to use context clues to understand what you're talking about. I'm like, I don't really know what extra means, but I'm going to go with it because I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. You're not the first person I don't think that said that. Well, you know which one that, okay, we're just going to go there. Let's go there. I had a
let's go there.
boss, I had a white male boss who was just like, I need you to own this. And like when he said that to me at the time, I was just like, what the F is he talking about?
Oh, yeah, I know
I
what that
was
means.
like, I don't get paid extra for any of this. So
Right.
I don't own anything. Let's
Right.
be clear. But like it just, and I know it was really bad because this was like a really important statement. And I'm just kind of looking at him like, So I need to work harder. Is that
Right.
what? I don't really know what you mean right here, but like,
Right.
and he was so earnest, and I.
Well, do you know what it means?
I mean, I think I get it now. They're just saying like, you know, please be in charge of this item.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
So like, it's on you now.
Yeah,
Own
but I was
this.
just like,
You were
bruh.
responsible. I have now passed the baton. It's
Because
yours.
I really wanted to be like hashtag bruh, like what just happened? Because
Yeah, that's so extra.
I know, I'm
boss.
just like, I'm looking at you, it's like what are you saying? Yeah, it's funny how those phrases kind of
That's so extra.
how they go, but
Right.
I feel like that's so extra. It's just like it's superfluous, like that is unnecessary. You know,
Okay.
superfluous.
I mean,
extra.
yeah. I mean, I gathered it from the context clues,
Right.
but the first couple of times I was
It's so
like, I don't
perfect,
really know what
though.
you're saying.
It's so perfect.
Like, you're in an extra.
It's superfluous. But see, that's what's funny because it's superfluous, but like you wouldn't say you're extra, meaning like you're not needed, but
Right.
it means that your behavior is like more
Extra.
than what is required for the situation.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You went too far. You
Pretty
crossed
much,
the line.
yeah. Like if you came in and you just like come in and start shouting because for something doesn't deserve shouting,
Right.
and I'd be like,
That's why
dang,
people
dude,
would
why are
say,
you so extra?
You crossed the line. What? You need to take it down a notch.
Maybe that whole thing with notches. Why
Yeah.
people like notches?
I don't know where that comes from, but we definitely say take it down a notch.
Yeah,
you
or
need to bring
people
it down 4
Or
notches.
people
You're at a
start
10.
doing
you need
numbers,
to be at a
yeah,
5.
because then white people like to do the numbers. Like
Mhm.
you're at a 10, which is not to say no black people do that, but just funny.
Right.
It's like, do we really need to bring math into this? Can we?
Yeah. We're just counting.
So, and is 10 really the utmost though?
Yeah,
like,
10 is
I
the
mean,
highest. Come on.
why couldn't you be at like 100? You know, keep it 100. Like,
Yeah, because that's not our term.
yeah,
So we do
apparently,
10.
because we do extra. Apparently,
Right.
we're extra with the
You
100.
extra. You keep it 100.
I don't keep 100 because I feel like I only have like 10. You know what I mean? Like every time somebody says that, I'm like, yeah, I'm at like 90%. Thanks. Such a poser. So I mean, back to the film. What do you think thematically? This is only the second New Zealand film I've seen. I saw an older one called Once Were Warriors, and it was quite serious.
Once we're warrior.
Yeah, and it was Once Were Warriors is about like Maori, like the Maori culture, and it's like following a Maori family that's kind of
What
struggling.
does Maori mean?
Right. So Maori are the indigenous people of New Zealand.
Okay.
So the character Ricky Baker would be also Maori, obviously. He says something at one point like, I'm a Maori warrior.
Gotcha.
Like, you know, coming in. And so the indigenous people, just like everywhere, the indigenous people are kind of, you know, struggling and suffering.
Like every
Trying to-
indigenous people
yeah,
that
just
was taken over
everywhere.
by England
Yeah,
at some point.
but like even in like former Spanish places, right? It's like the
Right.
indigenous people have
Any of
always
those European
suffered, you
countries.
know, in like post-colonial world. And so that movie was like a dramatic look at like a family. It's fictional, but it was a dramatic look at a family, a Maori family, and this guy and his daughter and the pressures that they were facing, and him trying to deal with being between cultures.
Right.
And so that's the only New Zealand film I've ever seen. It was also critically acclaimed, but it's
Right.
maybe 10 years, 10 or 15 years ago.
Gotcha.
So, I came into this film with like no expectations other
Right.
than what I saw in the trailer, and I was like, oh, it looks quirky,
Right.
it looks funny. I didn't realize that was the old guy from Jurassic Park until I was reading about it afterwards.
Yeah, Sam Neill.
I totally didn't recognize him.
Me neither. I knew.
Yeah.
I even knew he was in the movie going in, and
Yeah.
I completely didn't realize that Sam Neill was that character.
Yeah,
He was
I
playing
didn't recognize him at all. Yeah, I know, old
Hector.
Heck. So, and then I was like, Hector, is that like a common, like,
I don't know, maybe.
former colony name? Like, I'm like, is he part Spanish? Like,
Right.
I don't.
He looked not
Swarthy?
like
No, he didn't look
he didn't
swarthy
look
to
like
me.
Sam Neill, so that's really all
Yeah,
I got to
it
say
was
about
really,
that.
really interesting.
Yeah, I haven't seen any New Zealand movies, but I did watch a TV show about Maoris.
Okay.
That was called Sister Sister.
Oh,
It had
really?
Tia and Tamara Maori in it.
You're so fired. I was just like, Sister was not on like the WB or CW
No, it
or
was
something.
on Disney or Nickelodeon or something.
Was it? I thought it was on like on
No,
the
it was
CW.
on. Well, at least it got reruns on.
Oh,
it might have been
maybe,
originally on the
maybe,
CW,
yeah.
but when I watched it, it was on Nickelodeon or
Sister,
Disney Channel.
Sister. Yeah,
but it was about the Maoris.
right. Maori in New Zealand. We're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that ridiculous pun that would only entertain me because that's my sense of humor. But no, I
Moment of
haven't seen
silence.
any New Zealand movies. Sorry, but I have seen
Yeah.
a couple of Australian movies, and I know they are not the same. So
Yeah, like people
Kiwis,
be saying
please don't
that.
yell at me.
People be saying that, but I'm like, y'all need to distinguish y'all accents because
well, that's what the only
that's
thing
part
I
of the reason
know.
why everyone thinks y'all are the same. Plus, they can go back and forth freely. So, because I've been told that by people who live down there. Like a Kiwi girl was like, "Oh yeah, my sister went to go have her baby in Australia because they give like I don't know, they don't have enough babies or something."
Weird.
She was getting some sort of like special subsidy or something for having
Uh-huh.
her baby in Australia. So I mean, they're cousins.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been told though that if you meet someone with an accent like that,
Yeah.
you always guess that they're from New Zealand because nobody ever does that.
I know.
And
so
so
they'll
the
like you
one
more.
chance you get it right, they're like, oh, yes, how'd you know? And
Yeah.
the Australians don't really care.
No. They
And
don't.
so you're
'Cause
like,
they're
no,
all
I'm
criminals.
Australian.
They're all criminals.
I'm Australian.
Yeah.
Mate.
I
Because that's
know,
all they
I can't.
say.
I can't really do like a good Australian
That's all they
accent,
say.
partially because I don't care for it much. No offense, but
Yeah, it's not great.
No, I know, but yeah, it's interesting because I really can't tell the difference, and I'd run into a bunch of Kiwis and Aussies in Korea all the time, and I was just like,
Oh, yeah, 'cause
same,
pretty
same,
close.
same, same. Yeah, yeah, they're all on that side of the world, and then when you go to Bali, it's mostly Aussies down there, just all the time.
Right.
When you're over there, so it's interesting. But yeah, I don't know. With the film, I thought it was like the whole idea of like obviously fostering and like just I don't know, it was interesting. Like,
I don't know what there is to gather from New Zealand culture from this movie. Like I'm
other
sure
than the fact that the place looks completely empty, I don't know.
Right. I'm sure like if I were familiar enough with the New Zealand culture, I would have seen like picked up on these subtleties
Yeah.
of like what is being said
Besides
in the movie.
them joking the woman for using like the American like Miranda rights.
Right.
You have the right to
that
remain
was in
silent.
there.
They're like, yo,
People
chill.
only say
Like,
that on TV and in
Yes.
America. You don't say that here in New Zealand.
right. So
Which I'm assuming I did think about that when that happened, was that like they knew this movie was going to be played outside of New Zealand.
Yeah.
Before it was made.
Yeah.
Because why would that line have been in there otherwise?
But I think it would be a bigger laugh there. I think people would
Yeah,
probably
definitely.
already be laughing when the first two words came out of her mouth.
Right.
Whereas in the screening that I saw, when they said, oh, they only say that in America, then people laughed. But I
Oh.
feel like people in New Zealand would be like, the heck? She's an idiot.
No,
like,
see,
from
I
the
started
first
laughing.
two words.
I started laughing as soon as she said
I
it,
thought
too.
it was funny, but then I didn't really, I was like, well, maybe they say the same thing that we say.
Right. I was like, there's
You know,
no way.
I was like, I doubt it, but I was just like, well, what do I know about New Zealand?
Right.
Maybe they say the same stuff.
Right.
So, where I
Yeah,
think
but like verbatim though,
Yeah.
there's no way that they're that the minute right
no
is
mention of the
same.
queen. I mean,
Right.
I don't know, but I'm sure, they would immediately get it. Where I had to like think about it. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So maybe it's for the benefit of the local audience. Like, don't try to think that you're, some other place like
Yeah.
than here.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, other
And don't
than
get confused and think this is an American film when it comes to America, because you claim everything. So stop doing
Right,
that. This
that
is
it's like a
New
really big
Zealand
film.
film.
Yeah,
So-
I thought too though. I mean, I obviously the social worker and I don't know if it's obvious, but the social worker and the policeman were also native. They're Maori people. I thought that was interesting. I don't know that it was like a casting decision per se, but
Right.
I thought that was interesting because I don't know that much about the country. So to see them acting as civil servants was kind of I was like kind of curious about that.
Yeah.
Again, it just like gave me more cultural questions. Like,
Right.
is that a common thing? Like,
Right.
I don't know. Like,
Right. And of their like trying to take Ricky Baker from them, like was that a
Yeah.
protective thing, or was
Yeah.
it some sort of racial undertones being like you're not good enough to fit in society in this place, but like I am not good enough either, but like I know
Yeah.
that like in order for me to be liked more, I have to take you out of this
something.
or
Yeah,
fight
it was like a
against
lot
fight
of-
against that.
Yeah, it's like a weird thing. Like, you don't quite know. And because it wasn't a drama, then I was like, I'm not
Right.
going to like read into it. Whereas you would probably
Right.
expect those type of themes and something that was more serious.
Mm-hmm.
But I did think it was interesting. And then it was also because they're out in the woods. And I'm just kind of like, all right. But then like there is the Maori family that is just out in the woods. Like the girl's like, no one ever comes up here.
Right.
They're just out there with the horse. And
Yeah,
like
and then
just
that
acting
guy
all
who
crazy.
loves him and
Yeah,
thinks he's the
like the
coolest
dad. And I
person.
was just like, you guys
Is
are
it dad or
mountain
brother? I thought it
people.
was her brother.
I thought it was supposed to be her dad,
Oh.
even though she just told him to shut up. But
Yeah,
you know,
no, I
kids
think
are
it was her
mouthy
brother.
these days.
I think it was her brother.
Kids are mouthy these days.
Because he looked pretty young to be her dad.
No, but that's what people who live in nowhere, they have kids at 16.
That's
like,
true.
Everywhere in the world.
I
If
got the
you live in
vibe the whole time.
backwoods-
Yeah, I got the vibe the whole time that was her brother.
Really?
And like there were no parents, or at least there were, but they just weren't around.
Maybe because I thought she said her dad was always watching the game. Now we have to go back and check. I thought she said her dad was always watching the game, and then he comes in talking about the game.
Oh,
So I thought that was him. But I just figured since they lived in the woods, like
Well,
that
I
they
don't
had
know.
their
Right.
kid, and her dad would be super young. And when you have young parents, they're silly like that.
Yeah,
a lot of times.
that's true.
I had,
but there
old-
was no mom though.
I had
so-
old parents, so there was none of that. Like bouncing around tomfoolery.
Yeah, there
you know.
wasn't really any of that for me
So-
either. I had my dad was old. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. Young parents are like, "Hey, you're so cool," and those kids are always really cool. When you have old parents, you are not cool because your parents are not about that. Like,
Yeah, but I think it's better for you later. I think
Yeah,
it bodes
probably.
well for you in the end.
probably. But some
The
people,
discipline.
some cool people end up having good lives.
It's true. Some of them do. I can think of 0 of them at the moment.
I know. Like, well, if you're one of them,
All of
please
those
let us
people
know. Yeah.
peaked in high school
Mostly. And then they have kids. They're kids at 16.
Yeah, and they have cool parents that only work and then they peak in high school. So
yeah, I don't know.
Everyone else makes it out and lives in the woods.
Yeah, I guess
like Ricky Baker.
The boring life. I didn't choose the boring life. The boring life chose me. So, but yeah, I thought it was interesting too, the like recurring theme of hip hop, which was like just kind of sprinkled in there in a weird way. Interestingly, I don't know. I guess this comes from a book, if I'm not mistaken. Was it from an actual book? I meant to look that up. This particular story in this particular film. I just know that the director did another film called Boy that focuses on a Maori kid who's like obsessed with Michael Jackson. So it's like set in the 80s. So I just thought that was interesting because it is like, okay, for this particular director, it's like this influence of like American culture. And I mean, pop music in the States has always been kind of black. So it's kind of interesting that that's the case, but I was like, yo, this kid's all like Tupac, he's like my friend, and all this. I'm like,
he names his dog Tupac.
Yeah, so I was like, that is so weird, especially because Tupac's been dead for like a grip.
No,
so,
he's just been living in New Zealand, Taryn.
Right, apparently he's been in the bush of New Zealand. You said bush. Like, that kid was so stupid.
That kid was awesome. I love Ricky Baker.
I'm like, this is just stupid. Like, why am I laughing?
Ricky Baker was so
like,
funny.
You said bush. Like, and he just starts laughing.
Yeah.
So,
because that's what children do.
Yeah, middle school boys for
especially
sure.
middle school boys who have been like passed around and is like living this gangster thug life.
Yeah, in his mind.
Right, only in his mind because he's such a softie.
He's so soft. Yeah,
he can't survive anywhere ever for any time.
That also
although
made
at
me
the
laugh.
end of that time though, he's probably pretty hard. Like he can at least like live on his own and.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I was like, see, this is why our young people need to have survival skills.
Seriously.
We need to take all the little hoodlums out into the woods, make them start fires.
Yeah.
And they do have programs like that.
Yeah, in Norway.
So, no, they have them. Well, actually, when, like, there was a reality show. It was, like, maybe, how long ago? Was this after I came back to the States or whatever? Well, point being, but these were, like, the rich, bad little kids. So they all happened to be white, and they would come, their parents would pay people to come take them, stuff them in a van with no windows and drive them to like the backside of Montana or whatever, and they made a reality show. It was like one season, and they showed
of course,
them
because kidnapping children is not okay, even if it's for TV.
Pay them to come get you. So the kids would be like, F you, where are you taking me? Like, they're like cutting up, but they get out to the woods. And it was over.
And like, snap.
They're just eating granola and drinking like, whatever, like crappy green juice that they're like giving them. And then they have to wake up early and like start their own fires and like walk on this mountain range, wherever they were. It might have been the Rockies because they're out west. And it's just like, some of them really did transform. About half of them genuinely transformed. They're just like, wow, I just needed to be somewhere different. I needed to be away from my friends, the people I was hanging with, and blah, blah, blah. Half of them totally transformed. And then, because they would, have the little pair at the end of the season, like so-and-so, went back home and like became an honor student and like blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, there were the other ones. It was like so-and-so got arrested, like after they got back home.
They learned nothing in the woods.
Yeah, they learned nothing. They like pretended to be ready to go home, and then they got back into drugs or whatever. So
because they knew it was only for TV and there was zero concern for their actual lives and well-being.
Right.
They're just trying to make money off of these children.
It's a program that exists, okay? So it existed before the show.
Yeah, it exists in countries with socialistic governments like Norway, where they've like.
Do they have it for prison instead?
No, they've privatized their education, or their the government is like, they give a lot of time for. So your first year, you have a child, you have. The mom has 6 month paid vacation and the dad has 6 month paid vacation.
That's freaking awesome.
And then after the first year, starting at the age of 2, there's school for them to go to.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is just all outside. And so by the time they're like 3 or 4, they're taken into the woods with teachers, and they learn to camp. They learn to use an axe. And so from the very early age, a weapon is not a weapon, it's a tool.
Yeah.
And they learn to cut firewood and make.
Are we mad about this? Like,
yes, because these kids like familiarize themselves with finding their way around in the world. Yeah. Like learning how to recognize surroundings.
Yeah, we should totally be when the zombie apocalypse happens, I'm going to Norway.
Yeah. Like everyone, and they learn like
everyone can function, basically.
Can get along with one another because they both need each other to survive.
To like work hard and stuff.
And so like this starts, and then they're doing programs like this until they're 5, and then they go, or 4, and then 4 or 5, and they go to pre-K and then kindergarten, and then they start
because
their
they're
education.
a Viking community.
And it's like, that's like amazing. Instead of people just sitting at home and doing nothing,
Right, coloring
they can't
books
afford
and watching, like,
to like be with their kids, because then they get a day and a half off once they have a child, and they have to go back to work immediately, or else they don't get paid.
Yeah.
And then like,
and I'm sure they're like, I mean, you have so much confidence too,
right?
Like,
absolutely.
And like you feel really self-sufficient when you're able to do stuff like that. So I'm sure their kids aren't as punky as.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, because some of that behavior, I mean, the film is a comedy, but you can kind of see it's like, oh, he starts to calm down as he feels more competent, and like is able to like make his way a little bit, like in a natural environment. And even
then when his like adopted father starts to like see these things in him, and at the beginning he like just doubts him the whole time, and you can see him react to that. But once the adopted father starts to say, yeah, you've got it, like you can do this now, like he's so much more confident in that and is better at it, and then like starts to become who he is and be comfortable in who he is, instead of trying to be this person that he's never been and never will be.
Yeah Even though he still managed to be chubby after all that time in the woods.
I know, that was quite amazing.
This is the thing though, at the beginning of the film, and I was just like, oh my gosh, non-American humor is so cold, because she's just like, are you hungry? She's like, why did I ask? Look at you, you know, and I'm like, oh snap. I was like, I don't even think an American film would say that about a child in a comedy. Right. I was dead. I was like, this is too real. Like,
that was awesome.
That's
exactly how you should treat that situation.
But I was just like, oh snap. Like,
Ricky
no chill.
Baker.
Team no
Ricky
chill,
Baker.
New Zealand. So
that's another one I've had to figure out as we've done this podcast. I mean, that one's pretty self-explanatory. It's just I never hear anyone use it.
I'm on Team No Chill. Well, I don't know if it's like is actually like a hashtag or not, but I'm just kind of like, if there's a Team No Chill, I'm on it. Like, because I mean to like calm down, and I mean to not say what I'm thinking. I had a coworker at a job I was at. She was like, hey, no filter. And I'm like, why you mad though? Why you mad? Somebody's got to do it. Right. Trump's running a whole campaign on no filter.
And everybody loves it.
Yeah, it's true. 2016 is the year of no filter, apparently. So.
We're all allowed to say what we want.
Apparently. Yeah, I feel like you are allowed to say what you want if you're ready to take the punches, though.
Right.
So I just don't know if Trump's ready to get assassinated.
I don't own a gun. He's ready to take the punches. You ever watch his Twitter? Anybody say anything to him? He's immediately tweet. You will not win a war of words with Donald Trump. He will beat you every time.
I want him to get into Twitter beef with 50 Cent. I think we can set this up. Somebody set this up, because 50 has no sense either.
Really?
50 will go off. Like, he was promoting the Gods and Kings movie or whatever.
Oh, gosh.
That one, right? And so
why?
this girl,
was he a producer?
I don't know, because somebody invited him to a party, and he took a picture with them and tweeted it and was like, yeah, this movie's so good, go see this movie. So this girl like goes off and was like, 50, you know, you're a sellout, like, you're not even, do you even understand about Egypt? You know, she was a little bit more educated, but she was obviously emotional, and like, you know, tweeted him like, you're just ridiculous, blah blah blah, whatever. And then he was like, whatever, B, you know, you need to go back with your, I mean, just goes off like he's in middle school.
Oh my gosh.
To this woman, you know. So
what else does he have to do with this time except
really
Twitter,
except for get his check from vitamin water and not what is it, keep trying to get rich without dying. I don't know. but that would be the Twitter war for all Twitter war. And Vivica Fox's ex-girlfriend said something about him, and he went in for like multiple tweets on her. Wow. So I think a Donald Trump versus 50 Cent beef.
Let's do it. Let's see who wins.
Somebody make it happen.
Twitter.
Somebody make it happen. We gotta get a fake account.
That's how we could get people to pay attention to us.
That would be trolling
we instigate
to the nth degree.
A Twitter war with Donald Trump and 50 Cent. We say, hey, we talked about both of you on our podcast. Go listen and fight about it.
And then like both mention them repeatedly.
Right.
And be like, and then like, compare them to each other.
Yeah.
We could do this. We could start it right now. We could start a campaign.
That's true. Let's do it.
And then they could have beef. But other than that, don't have beef with the movie. Hunt for the Wilder People.
Yeah, Hunt for the Wilder People was awesome.
Yeah. I like to call them Wilder People.
I said that, and then when the guy who I was giving my ticket to, he said, one Hunt for the Wilder People. It'll be in theater too. And then when I watched the movie because of the wildebeest, and he said, we're the Wilder People. And
Got it. That was a wildebeest? I thought wildebeests were in Africa.
Yeah. Well, that's what they called them anyway. So it doesn't matter if that was actually a wildebeest.
It was actually a wildebeest or not.
They called it, and so then when he said, we're Wilder People, so then I knew it's pronounced Wilder People.
Interesting. Yeah. See, and I just thought they were just wild.
That's what I wanted too. Exactly. But
yeah.
Wilderpeople.
So sad. I still speak American. It's wilder.
Right.
Um,
And yeah,
wah,
that's all I got to
wah.
say about that movie. What
Yeah,
about you?
no, it was freaking awesome, and
Please go see it.
I was
You
unexpectedly
will
surprised.
not. We don't agree most of the time.
Yeah,
We're
that's
in
true.
unison here that this movie was hilarious.
That's true.
So you
Yeah,
should go
because I
see this
wasn't
movie.
necessarily expecting to like it because it was
Right.
kind of indie and foreign.
Well, yeah, when you
know?
swore you got to pick the next movie, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to watch something I really don't want to watch. And
Yeah.
she said, we're going to watch this movie. And I was like, this is everything that I like in movies. Why would she pick this movie?
I
Did she
failed.
pick it for me?
I failed.
And she did. But she also liked it. So
Yeah,
take that, world.
clearly I failed. Well, it's a good week for you.
No,
So
chill.
winning.
Did I use that right?
All right, yeah, kind of. You were pretty close.
Okay.
Okay.
Wah, wah.
Well,
Did I
that's
use that one right?
Yeah, that's my sound effect. Give it back. All right, so we're good on this one,
Yep.
and we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.
Okay.